We've built a complete AI-powered support platform. Agents, tools, knowledge base, streaming, failover, all of it. But here's the question. How do you test AI code? You can't call OpenAI in your test suite every time. I'm Haris from Laravel News, and in this episode, we're testing every layer of support AI. Agents, tools, embeddings, you have it, all without hitting a single API. Let's get right to it. One quick housekeeping note from last episode. We generated our middleware with make middleware, which dropped everything under HTTP middleware, right? The agent middleware really belongs alongside the rest of our AI code. So it now lives under /AI/middleware instead, exactly where the actual command, the PHP artisan make agent middleware would put it. Same class, just a tidier namespace. The SDK has a built-in faking system that mirrors how your Laravel fakes emails, notifications, and queues. You define the responses up front, and then you have assertions that verify the right prompts were sent. Let's go now in our terminal and run PHP artisan make test, and then let's say we want to place this under AI directory, so AI/support agent test. And we're going to use pest, of course. Let's move back to Z, AI/support agent test. Let's open this up. We have the very basic test that pest provides us. Let's start with the basics. So we test that our support agent gets prompted correctly when the customer sends a message, right? So we're going to do exactly that. We're going to change the basic example and we're going to say support agent receives customer message. So in this case, what we want to check is we're going to remove everything from in here and we're going to have our support agent and we add the fake. And in this fake, we have two things. The first one is the prompt. I can help you with that and let me look up your order. That's number one. What else do we need in this case? The first thing we need again is the user. Let's get user factory and let's say that we want to create that user, of course. Don't forget to import the user in this case. And the second thing we need is an agent. And in this case, the agent will be new support agent. Perfect. Now let's get the response in here and we say that agent for the user, exactly like we did so far in our routes file. So for the user called user, and then we say, let's prompt, and the prompt will be, I need your help with my order 1042, this legendary order number 1042. Okay, pretty cool. So what do we expect in this case? The thing we expect is we expect that the response text will have something like, I can help you with that. Let me look up your order. It's exactly the same text as with the one that we faked our agent with up here. Let's close this and let's add one more assertion in this case. Let's say that our support agent will assert prompted, and in this case, the callback will be that agent prompt. Let's call this prompt. And what will this prompt hold? So this prompt will contain the order 1042. Pretty cool. So let's go ahead now and run that. And as you can see, the test failed in the first try. What does it say here? Support message receives custom message. Argument 1, responses must be of type closure, string given. Okay, let's check on that. And now that we fixed the issue, let's run the test. And you can see that the test passes just fine. Pretty cool. So what do we have in this test? Let's go one by one, line by line, and explain exactly what we do. Three things are happening here. We use the support agent fake. In this way, we make sure that we have a canned response. So we never really hit the actual API. Then we prompt the agent exactly like production code would. We use the assert prompting down here to make sure that in the response, we do contain the text that we need. And in this case, the order 1042. We make everything fast and deterministic without really any API calls in this case. Now, same pattern for other assertions. So let's go ahead and add one more test. Now we need to check that the support agent receives customer messages with context. And I'm going to copy and paste this test here so you can see exactly what's going on. And we're going to discuss this line by line. Support agent receives customer message with context. Again, we fake the response from the support agent. Let me check your shipping status. We get one more user, we get the support agent, and then we call the prompt, where is my package? And then we make sure that in the response, we actually need the word package in this case. Let's run this test to make sure it works. And as you can see, the test passes as well. The closer version is great when you want to check that the prompt contains certain keywords without matching the exact string. And here is a pattern I use a lot. We can use something like preventStrayPrompts that throws an exception if any prompt reaches the agent without a predefined fake response. Let's go ahead and add one more test here. And we added this test about no unexpected AI calls are made during ticket creation. First thing we have again is we fake the support agent and we call the preventStrayPrompts. And this indicates that an exception should be thrown if any prompt is not fake. Pretty cool. Again, we have one new user based on our factory. And then in the response, we call the JSON API tickets with some properties, the subject and the body in this case, and we expect some specific status, 201 in this case. And then last but not least, we do assert that we never actually prompted the support agent. Let's go ahead and run this test. And now the test works just fine. This is the AI equivalent of mail fake that we use for prevent stray messages. If someone accidentally adds an agent call to the ticket creation flow without updating the tests, this catches it. So put this on any endpoint that shouldn't be calling the AI in the first place. Now, we also need to test our queued prompts. Remember what we added in the previous episode? That we queued the ticket classifier for background processing. Let's test that out. So we're going to add a couple of tests here, and let's go over them one by one. The first one is about ticket classification is queued on submission. Don't forget to import any unresolved names, of course. So let's import that ticket classifier, and we also need to import the queued agent prompt down here. Okay, so ticket classification is queued on submission. We create a new fake for our ticket classifier. We also create a user based on the factory. We have already seen that before. And then we call tickets endpoint. We pass subject and body in this case, and we expect a 201. But we also expect that the ticket classifier was actually asserted as queued in this case. And it does contain the widget stopped working text. So let's go ahead and run this test down here, and everything is green. Pretty cool. Now we also have a second test, and this one is about the ticket classification is not queued for empty submissions, because obviously we don't really want to spawn empty queues, right? Empty jobs in the queue in this case. Again, we fake the classifier, nothing to add in there. We don't really care. We send some empty properties like the subject and the body, and we expect like a 422 error. And we obviously assert that we never actually queued the ticket classifier. Let's go ahead and run this test now. And now this is also green. Nice. The next thing we're going to check is how can we test the custom tools we have. So let's go back into our terminal, and we are going to run a command about creating a test here. So php artisan make test, right? And this one will be /AI/tools. And which tools do we want to test? Let's check and test the OrderLookup test first. So OrderLookup test. And then let's make this paste, of course. Okay. Let's go ahead and open that lookup test. Okay. And the tools are just PHP classes, right? So we test them directly. There's no really need of any fake in this case. We're testing the actual logic. So let me copy the test and let's actually see how can we actually test this. Two tests in this case. The first one is about OrderLookup returns order details. Now we do create a new user using the factory, and we actually assign a specific name to this user, Jane Smith. Then we do create an order, again, as in from our factories. We mark it as completed, and we say that this is for the created user, and the total is 149.99. Then we actually use our tool here, and we call the handle method. We pass in the request the order ID. We decode the result, and that's it. We actually assert that we need to have the key that is marked as completed, the total that we actually added, and the customer name, which is Jane Smith in this case. Let's go ahead and run this test, and it actually fails. Why did it fail though? It failed because we assert that this is actually completed, but it was actually marked as delivered. Let's go to our order factory. Let's scroll down here, and the completed, yeah, this is the issue actually. We called the delivered in here instead of mark this as completed instead. So let's change that and mark this as completed. Now, if we run this again, we get green. Pretty cool. Second test is that the OrderLookup returns error for missing orders. We're going to add an order ID that doesn't really exist in our database, and we assert that it will contain not found. Let's run that now, and works as expected. Pretty cool. You can test the rest of the tools the exact same way. I'm not going to do that now, but I'm going to include some extra tests for you in the repo. Go and check them out if you want. The next thing we need to check and test is the chat endpoint. Again, let's go back to our terminal, run php artisan make test, and we're going to name this chat controller test because we are testing our controller. So AI controller test. Don't forget, this is a PES test. Let's go back and open it up. So chat controller test. Now we need to test the full HTTP flow. The chat endpoint is what ties everything together. So we need to cover this a lot. We'll write 3 tests in this case for this specific controller. The first one is that the authenticated users can send chat messages. Before that, let's make sure that everything is imported. I think everything's in here. So what do we do? Let's go line by line. Again, we fake our support agent. We pass a specific text in there. We create a new user. And for this specific user, we run a post request in the /chat endpoint. We pass a message, hi, I need some help. We make sure that the response asserts as okay, this is a 201. And then we assert that the JSON structure has a reply and the conversation ID in the structure. We expect that in the body, we're going to get something like, hello, how can I help you today? So this is exactly the same message as the one we faked up here. Last but not least, we make sure that support agent asserts that it was prompted. And in the prompt, it contains something like, I need some help. Again, this is what we have in the message here. So let's go ahead and run that. Green. That's pretty cool. First test is done. Let's now move on to the second one. Chat requires authentication, obviously, because we don't really need to allow for someone from the outside to use our endpoint. So again, we send a post request to chat with hello. We're not actually, as you can see beforehand in the previous request, we use this acting as user, and this was what actually authenticated us. In this case, we're not going to do that. So we start with faking the agent. We send the request without any authentication, and we expect that we are actually going to assert that this is an authorized request, and we never prompted the agent. Let's go ahead and run that now, and you see that you get green. Pretty cool. Last but not least, we're going to have a third test, and this one is about chat validating the message field. Cool. So again, we fake the support agent. We create a new user in order to use this for authenticating. We send a request in chat, again, a post request with empty message. And we are asserting here that we're going to get a 422 back. And obviously, we never really prompted the agent. Let's run this. Everything works as expected. You can also test the vector store. So let's do that now. Let's go ahead and create a new test, PHP artisan make test. We're going to name this vector store setup test. So AI/vector, again, vector store setup test. This is a PES test. Let's go back. Vector store setup test. And let's go ahead and see our tests in this case. The first test we're going to have is that the vector store is created with the correct name. We have this KB setup store. Remember, we had this artisan command created in the previous episode. Once we run that, we make sure that it was successful, and we actually created our store. The first test we're doing in this case is that the vector store is created with the correct name. And that's pretty important. So we actually fake the stores we have, and we also make sure and we assert that it is created at the end. We actually run the artisan command. Again, this is faked. The KB setup store, we actually created this command in the previous episode, if you remember, and we assert that it was run successfully. Let's go ahead and run that now, and you see that we get green. That's pretty cool. Next test. The documents are uploaded to the vector store. That's a pretty important one. The first thing we do again is we actually fake the store. And now we have the storage. We have 5 files. We have the return policy, the shipping guide, the billing FAQ, the account security, and the product warranty. Those 5 files we created in the previous episodes. Then we run again the KB setup store, and we need to assert 2 things. The first thing, that the command ran successfully. And the second thing is that, again, we created the support AI knowledge base. Let's go ahead and run that test, and those files were actually uploaded to the vector store. Third and last test we have, the embeddings generation can be faked for knowledge-based seeding. So now we fake the embeddings part. We run KB seed, we assert that it ran successfully as expected, and we also make sure and we assert that the embeddings were generated as expected. They also contain the return policy. Again, the return policy is one of the names of the files we actually uploaded. You can see that again in the previous test up here, and you can also find them obviously in your files. Let's go ahead and run this. We get green. pretty cool. Again, go into our terminal and run php test, and then we'll filter based on everything under the AI directory. Let's run that, and we make sure that all our tests pass before we wrap this up. As you can see, everything passes. You can obviously do this in parallel as well. It will be much faster, most likely. So we have 12 tests. They run very, very fast, and 0 API calls in this case. We tested agents, we tested tools, embeddings, vector stores, HTTP endpoints, the whole thing. Everything is covered. And this is how you can test your AI agents. In the next episode, we are going to check how we can improve our security and make sure that we don't fall for any prompt injection. It's going to be very interesting. See you in the next one.